Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us, hanging out, having some beers and conversation. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how's it going?
It's going. I'm here.
Okay.
I just got over my trip of drinking lots of bourbon, and now just
Right.
in time to drink a bunch of beer. So
Perfect planning, man.
yeah,
Perfect
worked out well.
planning. Awesome. Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing well. The last couple of weeks had me in Texas for work, so I'm happy to
Right.
be on the show and drinking beers with you boys.
Okay. Good stuff, man. It's a good place to be. Sure enough.
Tim,
Uh,
how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, we'll say that. I haven't gone anywhere, done anything exciting. I haven't been to Texas or Kentucky or any place like that. So, but I'm chugging along pretty good here. I'm doing okay with it. So, guys, moving into our beers of the week. Brian, before we get into beers, so you did what I guess 2 years in a row makes it an annual trip at this point. So,
I guess, yeah,
Kentucky,
annualish.
Kentucky weekend trip. What were your highlights there?
Yeah, I think I doubled the number of distilleries I hit this time. I did a little extra planning and
All
actually
right.
paid in advance for some tours, which I wasn't doing last time. I just wanted to walk in and I don't know, drink some bourbon.
Go drink. Right.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I went through a couple. I did Old Forester. I'm a big fan of Old Forester. I did Angel's Envy. That was fun too. And then my favorites, Willet, of course, I hit that again, but nearby is Heaven Hill. So I hit all of those. Heaven Hill's place is amazing. It's I didn't have tours for Heaven Hill or Willet, either one, because they're difficult to get. And
Gotcha.
honestly, I didn't feel like I needed to. Both of them are great. Willet's got this amazing bar with a list of like rare barrels and rare spirits. I was happy as a clam there. I just want to hang out at their bar drinking their crazy like old bourbons and then like I don't know, Amaros from the 1960s. It was insane. I'm like,
All
yeah,
right.
it was crazy, but
That I think if you tour one distillery, you kind of get the picture. You kind
yeah,
of know what's up. So the only thing I could think is, sometimes those tours have special pours along with them. So
exactly. Yeah.
that would be the thing that would make it appealing. It's like maybe you could pay for the tour, talk to them, be like, hey, what time approximately are you guys going to meet up for the fancy tasting? Because I'll catch up with you guys there. So
They always have these dedicated tasting rooms. I was just like,
Yeah.
let me hang out in the tasting room until you get there. It is kind of neat where they will take you through the different bourbons and or rye, because I did do both. And they'll tell you a little bit about them tasting. And they went through an elaborate process of tasting. Like I think it was Angel's Envy was talking about, like there's a 4-step like process to tasting, especially the first one.
Okay.
Involving
All right. Yeah.
like it isn't until the third one that you're actually enjoying the bourbon. Most of it's like prepping to enjoy the bourbon. So
Interesting.
it was pretty interesting. So yeah, you got to calibrate because
Sounds
if
like
you're
a
going
lot
from
of
not
work to
drinking
drink
anything,
bourbon, man.
yeah, if you're going from not drinking anything to drinking something that's 100 proof or whatever, like there's a little bit of an adjustment. So it was kind of like stepping you up to that. Now, when I was drinking bourbon all the time, that was not a big thing. Like the very first drink was amazing every time. But when you're out of practice, like I've been with my bourbon for a while, yeah, there's a little bit of a ramp up. But
You learn
yeah.
quick though, like riding a bike, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Once you remember how to do it, you'll get back to it.
You're
But
good, too.
I did do a couple of beer things, and I think the most interesting thing I did is I went to this weird speakeasy kind of place called Sergio's World Beers, and it's very speakeasy like.
Okay. All right.
The first time I tried to go there, it's so good at being hidden, I thought it was closed or didn't exist. So I actually tried it a second time and got lucky, and I found it. And once I got inside, it's crazy. It's a long place. It's very narrow. It's like a hallway, but if the hallways were just lined with fridges full of beers, spread up, carved up by geographic regions. Also, like a tap list of the craziest stuff that you've ever seen, like Anchor Christmas from 2022. I drank that on tap there.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very eccentric. The owner, very cool guy. He was there. They their taps were basically room temperature, which I found to be interesting. I'm like, usually cellar temp is what you expect, and the glasses weren't exactly beer clean by a long stretch. But other than that, it was a very cool place.
So interesting that he had something like a 2022, Anchor Christmas, and then
yeah.
warm taps and dirty glasses.
Yes, but he had a lot of like all of the authentic glassware. He had
Yeah.
tons of stuff. I got my Schlenkerla glasses that I've been looking for a while. I got two of them, two different forms because I didn't know there were two of them and I had to have both. But so he had glassware for a lot of this stuff, but most of it was for sale. So uh,
Okay.
I think I drank out of a Chimay glass everything the entire night.
Interesting. All right.
So very intriguing. So yeah, it was a good time. If you're if you go to Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Look for Sergio's World Beers. It's a cool place. It really is. The tap list is amazing. The bottle selection is amazing. It can be a little pricey, but honestly, you're not gonna find anything like that anywhere. It's not unlike anything I've ever seen. So very cool.
Interesting. All right. And how about the beers that you're drinking now, Brian?
Well, since you bring that up, I guess I should roll it right into that. So I got things started off. I pre-gamed with some Six Bridges Medlock Hazy IPA. It's their flagship New England IPA with Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic, and Yakima Chiefs Citra Dynaboost. And it's interesting. I got it recently because I happened to see it. They've changed the packaging. I think they've changed the name of the beer. I don't know that the beer itself has changed. It might have a little bit, but it's still an awesome beer. I really like Medlock, and I was happy to find some super fresh cans of it because I'm always down for that. But now I have moved on to a beer I brought back from Kentucky, West Sixth Brewing's Hop Static IPA Chapter 15. It's an extra pale ale, an XPA. This is not something I typically have very often, and it's part of their Hop Static Rotator IPA series. And there's not a lot of information about specifically what's in this particular chapter. I don't know a lot about it, but it's dry. It's super dry and almost a little woody. So it's a very interesting IPA. I wonder if it's got that. I know that we were talked about a while back a hop that had like woody characteristic to it. So maybe it's got some of that in it. But anyway, with the after party with the Patreon folks, I'm going to get into Tripping Animals, and it's a collaboration. Tripping Animals and a Canadian brewery called Messerem. Moosey Juicy, which is a New England double IPA with Superdelic, Citra, Motueka, and Southern Cross hops. So that is what I'm getting into, Tim.
That sounds pretty good. I think I remember back when we were brewing, Brian, I think for a steam beer, like one of the, or a Kentucky Common, it may be. And,
Yeah.
you know, a Kentucky Common, I think it's Northern Brewer hops are traditional, if I'm not mistaken. And I
Could be.
believe that one had a woody note to it. So I don't know about any others, but I remember specifically us brewing with Northern Brewer and an unpleasant, at least to my palate, an unpleasant woody character.
Yeah,
Some people
it's
like them though.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. It kind of, after having the Medlock, the hazy IPA, which is very tropical, even says it on the can, and going to this being super dry and almost like woody, little bitter to
Yeah.
it. It's a bit of a. I didn't plan this one well, Tim. Is
I
what
didn't
I'm
plan
saying.
this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I've made a terrible mistake. Nate, how about you, man? What you drinking?
All right, so finishing up in my glass right now from Other Half Brewing, I've got Forever Ever, which is their Social New England IPA with Mosaic, Cashmere, and Citra hops. And then on deck for tonight's show from the Vale, I've got Steel Spine, which is a non-barrel aged imperial stout blended with a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout.
Interesting. Sounds good. Now,
But
guys, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I am excited. I have had a number of Vale stouts, so even though it's adjunct free, I am excited to get a
Okay.
chance to try this beer.
Quality adjunct free stout, man, just the way the good Lord intended.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Indeed.
I have a beer. I actually got this today, and too late to get it chilled down. But we talked last week about the founding father beers that were being done, and we mentioned one, Talea Brewing, working with the New York Public Library, uh, brewed a beer based on George Washington's original recipe. And right after the show was done, I reached out to my friend Tommy in New York City, and he's a there for you kind of guy. And I was like, Tommy, I've got a mission for you. And I sent him a picture. He's like, all right, I'll go get it tomorrow. That was it. That's all it took. So, and Tommy is efficient enough, but that before we made it to this week's show, I got a 4-pack in hand here. So, Talea Brewing, it says Liberty Lager from Talea Brewing Company. And they say this is a classic amber lager with the lighting's getting me with subtle malty sweetness and a hint of hops. So we'll get these iced down and check them out. But thanks, Tommy, for hooking us up. I'm really excited to try these to celebrate America's bicentennial. I think is the
That's
way
right.
You got it right. Yep.
that is said
Yep.
there.
Tommy's
So
the best. You're
Tommy's the best.
Tommy.
Yay,
Yeah.
Tommy. Good stuff, man. Well, guys, moving right along. Atwater Brewing, moving and shaking all the time. Some new news here. They've been acquired. That's changing again. Hot potato with Atwater Brewing.
Yeah, they've been passed around like a hot potato over the years, like a lot. I went through their history, and the brewery was founded back in 1997, for people who aren't used to referring to
The late 90s.
the 90s.
Right?
Anyway,
The late 1900s. Yeah.
yes, the late
Oh, don't do
1900s.
that.
It was then sold 8 years later in 2005. It hung out for a while, for 15 years, but then it was sold again in 2020 to Molson Coors. And then when Molson Coors' fake craft arm, 10th and Blake, you guys remember that? When that was shut down in 2024, the brewery was packaged up and sold again, this time to Tilray. And now, in 2026, Tilray is selling off the brewery. And the new owner is the guy who owned it the longest, starting back in 2005. So not the original founder, but probably the guy that's known it and owned it the most. So Mark Reith, he ran it for 15 years, and then he also ran it for 2 additional years while it was owned by Molson Coors. So the details of the transaction have not been made public, but the deal is expected to close sometime this summer. The new old owner is gracious about the management of the brewery under Molson Coors and Tilray, but he says that a giant beer conglomerate can't provide the deep, authentic community connection that a local operator can, and he says that's what's key to what Atwater is all about. The question I have is, why would Tilray sell the brewery? They only seem to know how to buy things. That just their whole thing is just acquiring more and more. I guess the reality is they've accumulated a massive and perhaps even bloated beer portfolio, and they have been trimming down their individual SKUs, their products, and streamlining things. And with the recent acquisition of BrewDog and all the other stuff they have, smaller brands that are maybe lesser known, like Atwater, are likely to be afterthoughts and probably aren't going to be treated well. Mark Reith is also a bit of a Tilray in his own right, I found out. In addition to Atwater, he also owns Fuel Beverage, Detroit Liquid Ventures, Hard Nose Spirits, Lansing Brewing Company, and Velvet Peanut Butter. And that's an actual peanut butter company from Detroit from the late 1930s. So he's got a lot of stuff going on with I think his area there. But Lansing Brewing Company, which he owns, will not be affected by the purchase of Atwater in the short term, but he does say that there will be stronger collaboration between the two breweries in the future. So I have to wonder if there will be some joining of forces there. But there was mention. I think some of the other things are actually going to move in their offices into Atwater. So Atwater is going to be more than just Atwater going forward. But yeah, it's back in the right hands now to treat the brewery right. So yeah, it's interesting.
And there was no information on exactly why here. Was it prompted by Tilray wanting to unload? Was it prompted by the owner wanting to get it back?
It sounded like it was really prompted by Mark Reith being very in favor of trying to get it back. He said in the article I read, and I think it was Brewbound that I read most of it, that he really wanted it back ever since, like, shortly after he sold it. He's like, he immediately wanted to pull it back, and so he's been wanting it back for a while. And I think he realized now is a really good time to get it, because I think Tilray's got more than they can handle. So I think he just jumped at it, and Tilray's like, you know what? Yeah, we'll take the money. We're not. I don't think Atwater is part of their core strategy at this point.
Yeah.
Now that they have BrewDogs. So yeah, I think he just saw an opportunity and jumped on it. I don't think Tilray necessarily was going to, dump it or anything like that, but just they probably weren't going to do much with it.
Interesting stuff, Brian. Well, guys, as you know, the World Cup is coming to America coming up. Matches being played in America. Atlanta is one of the host cities, so we're going to see it here. Our city's been talking about it nonstop. What they're going to do, the infrastructure, all the people coming in. But the thing that I think is most important and that most people are concerned about is how much beer are these fans going to drink? Well, it looks like we're not the only ones looking at that. There is some info, and in short, massive amounts is kind of what they're looking at.
Yeah, it's going to be very good for beer, and there's actually quite a bit of. I think all the articles that have been written about it have been written are from the UK, but yeah, football fans. We would call them soccer fans, but they're gearing up to consume over 1 billion pints of beer globally during the 31-day World Cup, according to the investment bank Jefferies, which I think is in the UK. I'm not familiar with this place, but they expect the expected surge in drinking will help stabilize the global beer industry. It's going to be a significant thing. It will be especially helpful for the UK and Europe, as most of the matches will take place during prime drinking hours. And previous World Cups, these poor fellows had to stay up till like 3 a.m. to catch a match, which is very difficult for drinking any amount of beer and I don't know continuing to live a normal life. But now for the downside, if you are lucky enough, and this isn't necessarily for beer, this is for just the average show. If you were lucky enough to score a seat inside one of the 16 official tournament venues, don't expect there to be a lot of local craft beer available. There's not going to be a list of it. Anheuser-Busch has locked down the menu to just 4 options: Michelob Ultra, Michelob Ultra Zero, Stella Artois, and neutral vodka seltzer. So basically water, optionally with trace amounts of alcohol and or trace amounts of caramel coloring. So you got those options going for you. And don't expect a reasonable price for those beers at the venue either. I'm seeing predictions that the beers will be between, like 16, 17-ish bucks, maybe $18, and they may end up being poured from cans instead of taps at some venues. That people were reporting games leading up to this or that was the case. And the problem with that is that often means that the beers aren't very cold because they're not coming from a keg, so they're not refrigerated. So, yeah, it's going to be pricey to drink at the venues. Now, wherever else you're drinking, you're probably going to have a better time. But as big as this is, it still doesn't rival Super Bowl Sunday. To put it in perspective, people drank roughly 2.8 billion pints during the Super Bowl. That's nearly triple the prediction for the entire month of the World Cup in a single day. But hey, you know what? A billion beers is a billion beers. I'm not mad about this at all. Let's not be picky about this. It's good for beer, so good news.
I doubt the validity of the claim that people drink 2.8 billion beers on Super Bowl Sunday. And that's a lot of beers. And we're talking the World Cup is global in 31 days. And I'm fact checking you on Claude AI, and Claude said the most commonly cited figure is, oh no, I saw 325 and I thought they were going to say 325 million pints. No, Brian, they said 325 million gallons, which is in fact 2.6 billion pints.
Wow.
What is wrong with us?
What is right with us,
world?
We're thirsty. Hey, we're thirsty, and beer seems to be the beverage of choice for Super Bowl.
How many people? How many people are watching that? Like saying like 20 million people watch.
Yeah, like
that
I
every
know it's maybe. I mean, how popular is the American football Super Bowl outside of the U.S.? I mean, I just think when you're talking something global like the World Cup, stretched over 31 days, my flabber is gasted. Right now.
I'm presenting what I read. I was also surprised by that, but I'm like, well, I guess the sheer volume of all the drinking is, I don't know. So look at it. Look at it this way.
Let's dive into this. Go ahead.
Well, you got the World Cup, and you have a month of drinking ahead of you. You might hold off, and like with the Super Bowl, it's that day, and you're just going to go to town. You're going to drink until you black out or something like that. But if you're doing it over the course of 30 days, you're gonna have a couple while you're watching, and I just don't think you're going for the more quite the level of recklessness as you might be for the single event.
So let me say that the AI bot is as skeptical as we are and provided additional context here. So let's dive into this a little bit more. It says works out to roughly 2.6 billion pints in one day. It said worth a grain of salt, though. The number gets repeated everywhere, but it would mean that every man, woman, and child in the U.S. drinking more than a gallon of beer. Every man, woman, and child in the U.S. drinking 10 cans of beer.
That checks out. That seems reasonable.
Which is hard to believe.
Now,
it said even Men's Journal Men's Journal tracked the stat across multiple sources and remained openly skeptical. It likely originated from a loose estimate years ago and has been copy pasted into infographics ever since. More grounded numbers, it translates to roughly 50 million cases, and Super Bowl Sunday is the second largest beer drinking event in the U.S. What do you think's number one, guys?
Oh, oh, what should we call it? St. Patrick's Day.
Wrong, actually, according to
Really?
this, at least. According to this, 4th of July. They
Oh,
say
that's good.
is
I
the
thought
other
about
big-
4th of July, but I'm like, no, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not as it doesn't seem to have quite the dedication to drinking. But okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess that's something that like everybody gets involved in. You have your backyard cookouts and everything. So okay, again, and we'll say this: AI is not always 100% accurate, but it does cite sources on this stuff. So anyhow, going back, it said 4th of July was the average party attendee consuming 4 to 6 beers. If you run the math on 100 million viewers having 4 to 5 beers each, you land closer to 500 to 600 million pints. Still a staggering amount, just not billions. Okay. I mean, 2.6 billion. I mean, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. And when you're comparing it to an entire month of World Cup of being only 1 billion. So who knows? Who knows there? But
I wonder.
Interesting.
I guess the number 100 million watching, like, is that just in the U.S. or is that is that the worldwide?
Yeah,
or?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I honestly have no idea how popular the Super Bowl is outside the U.S.
Me
I
either.
don't know.
I mean, I know
that
there are
pla-
people that watch it, but I don't know
Yeah.
that it's actually popular. You know,
Yeah,
so.
and some of those are just expats and places will,
Yeah.
will have it on
Yeah.
just to cater to expats and other places. But yeah, I mean, I can't refute what you're saying. I did not do the math on this.
Fair enough.
I just went with what I read, and I don't. Who am I blaming for this? Is it going to be the Independent or
It sounds like-
theopenmagazine.com? One of those two lied.
And
to me.
it sounds like everybody's that lots of people are repeating that number. So I just yeah, it sounds, if we are, you know what, congrats y'all. That is some power drinking. Congrats to the infants out there that are kicking back 10
just
beers.
knocking back 10 beers.
Yeah, the one dude taking down 230 racks there because you got to
Yeah.
balance this stuff out. So
I assume that I'm drinking for two kind
Yeah.
of thing.
or 3, 4.
Yeah.
So
So I'm drinking for the family.
drink like nobody's watching.
All
All right, good
I'm
stuff,
pretty
man.
sure that a
Good
lot of
stuff.
that happens. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe the World Cup is the greatest drinking events of all
It
time.
might
I
be
don't know.
now.
Yeah.
Again, the asterisk that it's 31 days. So
True.
you know,
Yeah.
they get that. Brian, we love hearing about old beers, ancient beer recipes, and all the discoveries that happen, and some new fun news here. And the headline says that scientists are brewing a mummy beer.
Yeah. So I'll bet, Tim and Mike Nate, that you've been wondering what a beer would taste like that was made with yeast from a frozen mummy.
I have.
I think
we all have.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
all have. Yeah.
Yeah.
This makes sense. Well, good news. We might finally have the answer to that nagging question. Scientists are planning to brew a beer using wild yeast strains harvested from the mummified remains of Ötzi the Iceman. And who is Ötzi the Iceman, you ask? He is a prehistoric man preserved in the frozen Alps of northern Italy, and he's from the he died and was preserved back in the Copper Age, which is about 5,300 years ago. These days, his full-time gig is being Europe's oldest known natural human mummy. So that's what he's doing right now. But don't worry, the scientists didn't immediately jump straight to brewing beer with the Iceman yeast. That would totally be crazy. They made a loaf of sourdough bread with him first, using 4 distinct yeast strains pulled from Ötzi's skin and digestive tract, like you do, and they described the bread as being very good. So they did their research on this, and obviously they know. I'm sure they know good bread. So I hope. Anyway, the Iceman mummy was originally found by German hikers back in 1991, but when a research team started looking at the microscopic life on the body back in 2019, they were surprised to find living yeast, and they claim that the yeast in question weren't introduced since the discovery. They were along for the ride, going back over millennia, like 5,000 years. Interestingly, the yeast that they used to make the bread initially didn't do anything because they had not adapted to the task. There's what's the richness of the sugariness of the environment. They weren't used to. They didn't know what to do with it. So, but
Okay.
eventually they did figure out how to deal with it, and the scientists were able to make their dead guy bread. So that was pretty cool. But
That guy L.
yeah,
Mm.
here's an opportunity. Where is Rogue when you need them? But
Right.
so the yeast may end up having a much more practical application to protect it from modern molds. The scientists treated the yeast with a chemical called phenol, and several of the strains that they sprayed with this stuff or treated with this stuff, they started eating the phenol, which was unexpected. That which means there could be a serious application for these ancient yeasts in cleaning up hazardous environmental spills involving phenol. They can eat phenol. Yes, Tim.
Keep going is what I was saying, Brian.
Oh, got it.
So we didn't interrupt the show.
I thought you were raising your hand because you wanted to say something intriguing about phenols, but yeah. So basically, this is kind of cool. When they discovered the yeast didn't know what to do with like sugary water, and they didn't know how to make bread or ferment bread. They didn't know how to ferment alcohol, but man, they could eat some phenols. So yeah, this is kind of neat. I don't know what to think about the beer or the bread. I have to think that their exuberance about the what they're doing is going to overwhelm their sense of actually how good the bread and the beer is. But you know what? I would try it. Would you try it, Mo Mike Nate, knowing where it came from? Possibly the
Yeah.
digestive tract of a guy that's been dead for 5,000 years?
In terms of wild rides of experimental origins for ingredients for beer making, yeah, I guess I could add dead guy yeast, or European dead guy yeast to my would I try this? Yes column. It's wild. The really wild thing to me is that the yeast hadn't adapted to converting like to fermentation. And so I'm kind of curious because like we always say like, oh well, yeast like eat sugar, and for beer making it produces CO2 and ethanol, and that's how you make alcohol. And so it's kind of curious to me why the yeast needed to adapt to be able um to be able to function the way that we understand yeast functioning.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. I think it tells you a little bit about the time that they came from. They just did not encounter like you put the yeast in the dough, and that they probably never encountered dough before. They came from a time
Mm-hmm.
when that was never a thing. They're used to probably much more sparse, and who knows what they ate. Obviously, they ate phenols, and who knows what else they could be used for. So I think there could be a lot of interesting stuff where they should treat this yeast with a lot of other interesting compounds and see what does it actually do. Like it's this could actually be a boon for some environmental recovery. So that could be a very cool thing.
Yeah. Would you try Mummy beer brewed from yeast that you know came from the dude's skin and intestines?
I would do it. But here's the thing. I know that I know how this stuff works. Bacteria is bacteria. The stuff in the air. I was reading this, still thinking like, it didn't do the fermentation. I'm like, it made me wonder like maybe some wild yeast got in there and actually did do the fermentation, and they just didn't realize it. I'm assuming that they're on top of this. They know what's going on, and they're definitely verifying that these things did it. I would definitely try it. I know how this works. I'm not squeamish about bacteria and stuff like that. I like the idea of where the stuff comes from. No, but I think I wouldn't spend too much time thinking about it. So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, in other news beyond Mummy beers, have you recently went to Kentucky? What was the oldest year barrel that you tried from?
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think of how old they were. I want to say that I had some when I was at Willett because they had the various vintage barrels or barrel picks that I
Hmm.
had spirits that came from I want to say 10 so between 2000 and later. And I want to say that the oldest things were around 14, 15 years old, I think. Like, I believe that was right around the cutoff. Anything beyond that, it got insanely expensive. Like, those ones were kind of spendy, but they went up, like, dramatically in price for
Oh,
the
I
longer
believe
they
that.
were. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's It doesn't seem like very long compared to this next story. We'll roll right into that. So yeah, so this next story is, like you might expect, it's a little bit more about whiskey than beer, but beer is kind of involved, so it's still pretty cool. And I did just get back from Kentucky drinking whiskey, so you got to humor me a little bit here. I'm thinking about whiskey a lot, but Iron City Distilling in Pennsylvania is dropping a single barrel finished rye whiskey called Old Faithful and what makes it interesting about this whiskey is the barrel itself. It's a wooden beer keg that is more than a century old and was once used by Pittsburgh Brewing Company in the production of Iron City beer before Prohibition. So over 100 years Prohibition is still around. I guess Prohibition was about 100 years ago, but this is pre-Prohibition. So the barrel survived thanks to a local anonymous collector, and I got to give a shout out to all the Breweriana collectors out there doing the Lord's work, making stuff like this last, because otherwise this stuff ends up in a landfill and nobody ever uses it again. So shout out to that guy. Thank you for hanging on to that barrel. But because the keg spent decades totally empty, the wood was completely bone dry, and that's a problem with a barrel. To bring it back to life, Iron City had to hunt down a specialized cooperage, and cooperages are the people that actually put together the barrels. It's a whole skill involved with that. But in Minnesota, they had to physically rebuild it. So it took the Coopers about 6 weeks to break down the historic keg, shave out the old wood, rechar the inside, and get it tight enough to actually hold liquid again. And they were successful. The actual rye whiskey will be pretty limited, in part because it's coming from a single barrel, but also because that barrel is only 15 gallons. The barrels they typically use, at least this distillery does, are about 53 gallons, so it's a much larger size. But that also means the flavor is developed more quickly, basically. There's a smaller volume of whiskey. There's a smaller volume. Well, I'm trying to think. There's a greater volume of wood touching the smaller volume of whiskey, so there's more concentration of the flavors. So basically, there's greater access to the wood, greater access to the transfer of flavors. I'm not doing a great job of selling this point, but just trust me on this. It's gonna age faster in 15 gallon barrels than it will in 53 gallon barrels. That's science that I can't explain, but. So apparently the results were good enough that Iron City Distilling has acquired a few more barrels from the same era, and they are planning to repeat the process. So they're going to go through the whole process of rebuilding those barrels. So this might become a whole thing. Like if you see an old barrel around that nobody's using, that might get reused, and that's pretty awesome. But so if you'd like to get your hands on a bottle, keep an eye out on their online store. And this is it's an Iron City Distilling. I don't have the actual URL here, but you can Google them. You'll find it. On June 14th, they will be selling some of these, and that happens to be National Bourbon Day. Of course, this is a rye. This isn't a bourbon, so it just happens to be on National Bourbon Day. But all I can say is ISO. I'd like to get my hands on a bottle of this. Will it be the most amazing thing ever? I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The wood is from a different era, but it is completely reconditioned. Old stuff is shaved out. It's recharged, so it's kind of... You're not going to get a lot of history from previous things that went into it, including beer, but you might get interesting character out of the wood itself, and that's intriguing. So I'd love to try this. I think this would be amazing. What do you think, Mo Mike Nate?
I 1,000% would try this. I don't think I could afford buying a bottle, considering there's only 15 gallons coming out of it, and depending on how long they keep it in the barrel, it'll be 14.9 gallons or something like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I would absolutely try this. This sounds like a really cool experiment, and considering they went through all the effort to find a very specialized cooperage in Minnesota, and they spent 6 weeks reconditioning the barrel to be able to hold liquid again, and then the fact that they succeeded, now here they are fixing to release it. 1,000% I would try that.
I think one of the things that's going to keep it from being extremely expensive is the fact that... what was I going to say? It aged more quickly. They didn't keep it in the barrel nearly as long because, again, due to the smaller size of the barrel and the greater wood contact with the spirit, the age is faster. So I think this might only be, I don't recall if they said 2 or 3 years worth of aging time.
Mm.
And there was something about, they may have actually run it through twice, so we might be seeing what's collected from multiple barrelings over the course of between 4 to 6 years, and they're releasing it now. So that's so it might not be super expensive, but again, it's going to be pretty limited. It's going to be hard to come by. And my guess is something like this has a collectible nature to it. It is going to kind of shoot up in price. And so, yeah, if you get out there, if you get over to Iron City Distillery and try it out, let us know. It'll be kind of cool to see. How's this different? Is it special? Is it interesting? So yeah.
Absolutely. Brian, what kind of Boilermaker would you do with this 100-year-old beer barrel aged rye whiskey?
So I would go, so for something like this where I wanted the spirit to really be showcased and wanted something to kind of maybe be supportive but not steal the show, I'd go for something light. I mean, what's the I think is there an Iron City, what is it? I was trying to think. Is there an Iron City beer? I think there might be. So I'd pick something, a local lager probably. Something that's to the area, ideally made with the same water as that would have been. So something that would be supportive, but would not steal the show. So that's what I would do with that. I think it'd be only right. If you do anything that kind of upstages it, you're kind of not doing a service to a very special spirit like that. So that
Yeah, I
would be
support that.
yeah. What would you do? Is that what you would do?
Yeah, I was thinking something light. I definitely didn't want something that would dominate the flavor profile on my palate and take away any from this rare limited time release product.
Yeah, yeah. We're at a point where we should spend a little time giving a little shout out to our sponsor, Truck and Tap. So let me do that right now. Let me shoehorn that in here. So like we've been talking about, I just got back from a trip to Kentucky. I drank a lot of bourbon. It's nearly summer, so I'm ready for some refreshing summer beers right now. You know what I'm talking about? Jet Black, big malt profiles, double-digit ABVs, kind of boozy. Yeah, of course, I'm talking about stouts right now. But and the great thing is I can always count on Truck and Tap to have me covered when it comes to quality stouts. And would you look at that? Each location has a big boozy pastry stout on tap. Perfect. So let's explore our summer stout options in a little thing I like to call my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Vanilla Skyline from Hubbard's Cave. No surprises here. Vanilla Skyline is an imperial stout with vanilla beans and reportedly has a long, enjoyable finish. I half expected it to be one of those white stouts that were popular a decade or so ago for about 5 minutes. So I checked the pictures on the tap. No visual funny business. I probably would have still picked it even if there was some visual funny business because I haven't seen a white stout in a very long time. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm going with. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Pillow Talk from Prairie Artisan Ales. This is another imperial pastry stout, this time with peanut butter and marshmallow. Peanuts and nuts in general can sometimes be tough to get right in beer, but I think this is a challenge Prairie can handle. I believe they've done this kind of thing before. I don't really get the name, but I feel like there might be a dirty joke in here somewhere, so I'm just going to move on with that. But at Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Cordial Offering, all the chocolate from Edmund's Oast. This one is different than the others. It's an imperial pastry stout with chocolate and vanilla. Not just vanilla, but also chocolate. And not just chocolate, all the chocolate. So, frankly, I don't know how it's possible for more than one of these beers to exist with one of them having all the chocolate. But anyway, I've had this one before. It's good. If you like chocolate, it won't let you down. If you like rich, sweet, boozy beers, this won't let you down either. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Fudgy Grams from Weldworks. I've recommended this one before, and it looks like they brought it back for round 2. I still need to give this one a shot. I didn't get it the last time, so it's nice to have a second shot at it. But it's a liquid recreation of Keebler Deluxe Grams. You can expect chocolate fudge, vanilla, graham crackers, and, of course, lactose because this is an imperial milk stout, so get them lactate pills ready to go if you need them. And there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and have a beer or two. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps do change quickly, and you never know what great new beer might go on and which of these might disappear. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, trivia, karaoke, live music, cocktail specials, bourbon specials, rye specials, crazy old barrels. I don't think they have crazy old barrels. Maybe they do. Anyway, you can find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We love you. You're the bestest. 10 years together, us and Truck and Tap. Can you believe that? Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, Brian, beer volume numbers, we hear about them all the time. We listen to the stats coming out of the Brewers Association. They've done a little adjustment to the numbers in 2025, and it sounds like it may be a touch of good news.
Yeah, yeah, it's a silver lining or something like that. If I'm using that phrase right, but yeah, more beer was sold basically in 2025 than was previously reported. It wasn't big enough difference to swing craft beer back into growth, but it was enough that the Brewers Association had to issue a correction to its annual production survey. They previously reported that the volume was down 5.1% last year. In reality, it was only down 4%, which isn't great, but it is significantly better. We're talking like over 140,000 barrels better than what was said. There is some variability in production numbers, the beer numbers every year, but this time it was more than what you would consider normal for these variabilities. As to what went wrong with the figures, a spokesperson from the BA said they had to the fixed data that after they got revised production number from a handful of regional breweries. So they do rely entirely on self-reported data from breweries. And self-reported data is only as reliable and as timely as the breweries reporting it. So they're a little stuck there when it comes to this kind of thing. The biggest mistake was saying that Yingling had a 25% drop in volume, which would be huge, but the real number was just 4%. So that makes up, I think, the lion's share of the difference. Despite the volume drop, craft beer still holds a massive chunk of the financial pie in the overall beer world. The corrected data shows that craft beer takes up nearly a quarter of all money spent on beer at 24.8%. So craft beer is still very large percentage-wise. We're not losing ground there. We're just not maybe selling as much beer as we did in the past, basically.
I think craft became so common. They used to really study what percentage of the overall beer market. I don't think they focus on that quite as much anymore.
They haven't
So,
in a while.
yeah, and we go back to, I remember when Wicked Weed was bought by AB InBev. And of course, that was an uproar. They were the epitome of craft, Asheville Brewery, the hipster craft beer. They kind of absolutely embodied what that was. So people were pretty disappointed that they were purchased by Big Beer. And I remember one of the founders, owners, did a video with, oh, what was that? What was AB InBev's little unit that was their craft beer? I'm forgetting the name of it. Do you guys remember the High Ground?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Something like that. Ah, gosh, I can't
The high
remember.
end or something like that. Was it the high
Yeah,
end?
something like that may be it. But they did a video, and it was right after the Brewers Association came out with their logo that was basically a beer bottle, an upside down beer bottle
Yeah.
is what it was. And there was some kind of mockery of that. And, there was other media talking about Big Beer. Basically, Big Beer is coming for us, and they're like, hey, guys, the basic point of that was talking to a lot of craft brewers that have been purchased by AB InBev and saying, hey, guys, we're not the enemy here. We need to be looking at, wine and liquor and that, we need to work together here as beer. And I remember the guy from Wicked Weed being kind of dismissive of craft as a thing. And they literally sold their brewery like 2 weeks prior or something. It was the time. So it was just timing of it. I have not bought a Wicked Weed beer since then. I don't even think I've drank or tasted a Wicked Weed beer since then, just on principle. And, we look at what's happening now with the changes in craft beer. And I think the fear of Big Beer gobbling up breweries is not totally unjustified. I mean, we've seen a lot of it basically, and we've seen. I think we talked about one time, has there been a case where a craft brewer has been better off? And I guess that depends on the definition of whether you're looking at, a business side or the consumer side of things. I don't know of a craft beer that has been purchased and the fan base has maintained the same passion for them.
Maybe Goose Island. I think maybe Goose Island
I thought of that, but I
has
don't.
gotten special treatment and operates a lot like how they did. I think there was early on some stuff,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think that of all of them, I think people might point at Goose Island and say, "Hey, they did really good, but they're still doing great. People still look forward to their releases. It's still a big deal. We talk about the release when the Bourbon County comes out. I drank a Bourbon County when I was up in Kentucky, so maybe them, but maybe only them. Arguably, you might say Wicked Weed is doing all right because their one IPA is around the country. It's everywhere. I also don't drink it on principle, just because that whole experience of them talking crap about the craft that took them to a point where they could be sold,
Right.
dismissing it and talking down about it right after they get sold. Yeah, that didn't set well with me either. So I
Yeah.
also have not bought one of their beers or not to the best of my knowledge drank it. I have some old bottles of theirs from pre-sellout, and I may have
Yeah.
I've opened up a few of those over the years.
I don't
But I
even
usually
think
do
I've
that
cracked into
quiet.
those. Yeah.
I do that quietly. I'm like, I'm
Do it
not
in the
gonna
shadows. What we do
Yeah,
in the shadows.
exactly.
Drink
I'm not going to advertise that
Wicked Weed.
I'm drinking that traitorous beer. Some of
Yeah.
it was really good, and some of it held up really well. Some of it did not. So yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know the fact of this matter because I'm not in Asheville. I'm not that in tune with the Asheville beer scene. But the last time I checked with people in Asheville, the vibe never returned. Really, the locals never embraced it the way they did before. But yeah, interesting the way all this stuff goes.
they were never cheap either. Like they were
Yeah,
always on the highest end for. There were 375s, and their bottles back in the day were would have been considered pricey even by today's standards, perhaps.
yeah,
But you'd
yeah.
buy them because they're craft, they're really good. You could count on them usually being very ingenious, very tasty, and yeah. So when you've got that, and then you talk crap, you sell out, you talk crap about your fans. So terrible.
It's
Yeah,
rough. Yeah,
and
just
I think
it's
they had to
not
drop their
cool, man.
prices.
It's not cool.
No, it's not.
No. Well, Brian, let's talk about something that I know at least you're going to think it's cool here.
Mm.
So, for those who do not follow us on Twitter/X, whatever it's called now, Brian handles our Twitter account. He is our Twitterer, our tweeter. What say you? And Brian has a hashtag that I think you're actually getting a small following on it. Your Long Beer Friday
I do
hashtag.
have people actually doing it. And
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
tag me. They'll
So
tag us in it when they do it.
get a stovepipe, something along those lines. Brian always has one of those on Friday, and he has Long Beer Friday. Well, Brian, may not be the beer you would chosen for this, but it seems like one that's more reasonable to drink in this size. Coors Light has the taller boy out, or for the Long Beer Friday there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to say that I was very excited when I saw this, but it's not quite what I expected it to be. So let me get
Okay,
into it. Yeah.
okay, all
There's a
right.
little bit of disappointment here, but so yeah, we got to talk about this. Just when we thought the Miller marketing department had used up all of their ideas for the season, they hit us up with the taller boy. Uh, when I saw the picture of this product, I immediately thought Long Beer Friday is never going to be the same. This is the longest of the long beers. This is amazing. But it turns out it is not a single incredibly long beer can, much to my disappointment. I'm heartbroken. This isn't a single beer can. It's a limited edition 18-inch tall canister designed to hold 3 cold 12-ounce Coors Light cans at once. It's basically a massive double-walled stainless steel koozie. That's what this is. But it makes your 3 beers look like a single long can while it's keeping them cold. So theoretically, you could be taking a hit out directly off this, and it does look like you're drinking possibly the largest beer anybody's ever had. But yeah, so the taller boy stretches out the Coors name with 14 O's, so which is a tip of the cap to the Telemundo soccer announcer for his long goal, yell. So it's in time for the World Cup. But if you'd like a Coors taller boy, it's going to set you back $30. It's a limited edition thing, and these things do go fast. They're silly, but they still go fast. But you have 2 chances to get one, and this time we're not telling you about it before they're sold out. June 11th and June 18th at noon Central Time. So check the Coors website. They got a sales site. You can find it. It'll be there. And Also, if you'd like to try your hand at yelling Coors with 14 O's for cash and prizes, you can give that a shot on the Coors Light website. They're also giving away 10 grand to a lucky winner. So, yeah, I'm sad that this isn't one can, but part of me is like, I kind of still want it, and I don't
I was
even
gonna
know
say,
why.
you gonna get it? I figure you're gonna give it a shot.
I
figure.
may try to get this one. It's
Yeah,
$30.
yeah.
It's so stupid, and
Yeah.
honestly, I'm gonna spend $30 so I can take a picture, put it out on social media, and I
Of
have no
course.
idea if I'll ever use it again. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Here's
Totally
here's the
worth it,
thing.
Brian. Totally
Here's the
worth it.
thing. Full-walled steel koozie or aluminum koozie. Ideally, it'll keep the beers cold because it's a koozie. You can put whatever you want into this long
True.
metallic sleeve, and so you could do 3 cans of your favorite craft beer at the moment, and then just be incognito with this cool metallic sleeve. Absolutely gonna be looking for this.
The
I
longest
could
of
probably
long
put
beers.
3 cans of Medlock in there. I
Medlock
don't.
There you
Hazy
go.
IPA in there.
I think Six
Yeah.
Bridges will not appreciate Coors being over top of their beer, but they'll probably like
Well,
me buying it and putting it in there. So that's not a bad idea. My one thought was, is this needs to be like a push pop or something where you load new cans in for the bottom and you just shoot out the other one, maybe like a magazine discharge. You're done with one beer, yes, rack another one in there. The other can just flies out, hits the ground. You just keep walking. Yeah, just
here's the thing. This is how we get to 2.4, 2 point whatever billion beers drank for one
Keep them churning
sporting
through
event.
there.
You just
That's exactly
have to
right.
reload, getting more cans.
This is exactly right. If you're going to drink 2 billion beers, you got to start drinking them 3 at a time. So
Yep.
yeah, that is a
Amazing.
very, very good point. We got to be strategic about this. We have to.
Mm-hmm.
We know what our goal is. We know what our goal is. We need to do what we can to achieve those 2 billion beers. So good point. Very good point. Very logical.
Good. Awesome. Good stuff, man. Long Beer Friday will never be the same. That is for sure.
Never.
Absolutely. That wraps up our show for this week. Thanks again for hanging out with us. If you enjoy what we're doing here, we'd love for you to tell a friend to listen to the show, maybe subscribe, and they can also hang out with us for craft beer and conversations. If you really enjoy what we're doing, consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. We'll get you some cool swag. We'll get you in the Discord server, and you'll get invitations to the after party when we record the show. We do appreciate that very, very much. With all that said, we hope that you have a really good week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.